Hello, welcome to day 7 of machine learning interview preparation. My name is Chitiz, and today we'll be discussing about introduction to object-oriented programming. In this today's video, we'll first discuss about class and object. So, by definition wise, class is a blueprint to create an object. So, it is like a template that defines what objects should look like, right? An object is an example or instance of a class, and it has actual values for those attributes. So for example, let's look into the example and try to understand what class and object is. So we are mammals, right? Mammal is a class, and it defines what mammals look like. So for example, mammals should have hair, body hair. So that is one attribute of a mammal. Other attribute would be mammal gives directly birth to their offspring or the children. So that is the attribute of a mammal, right? The example of mammal would be human being. The example of mammal would be a cow. The example of a mammal would be a dog. So the instance or the example of a class is a real world entity and it is called object. So class is a blueprint to create an object. An object is an instance or example of a class. So that is the definition. So let me show you an example. In Python, we create a class by writing class, and then after writing a class keyword, we write the class name MAMMAL. So the first letter is capital, and if you know the casing in Python, so if you know the PEPAT standard, class name should always start with capital letter, and function name, variable name should start with lowercase. So it should be in a snake case. So this one is Pascal case. So this is a mammal. If I write pass here, so I can create a class. If I don't write a pass and just try to run this code, it won't, because like this class syntax is not complete yet. And if I don't want to write anything other than that, I can just write a pass here. So what pass means is pass is a placeholder. Pass is a keyword or a placeholder to write a future code. So I'm writing pass here to like occupy a position so that I can write future code. So it is a placeholder. So this one is a class. Mammal is a class. Let's say so it is a blueprint. It defines what mammal should look like. Now I have to create an object from a class. So I have to create an object from a mammal. The object would be human. MAMMAL. So I created an object by calling the mammal class. Print type of human. So type is mammal type, right? Human is of mammal type. So we we are the example of mammal. So this is the very basic example of creating class and object. So let me add some more here. So I'll add about class attribute. So in our class mammal, we don't have any attribute, right? So last time what I said was mammal. So class defines what attributes and behavior something should have. I mean the object should have. So all the mammals should have here, right? So this is a class attribute. The way to define class attribute is like this. You can just write as here all mammals should have here true. It is a boolean value. So if I create a human object from mammal, so we created an object, right? It is a memory location. Let's say I want to print if human has hair or not. So we want to access this attribute, right? This is a class attribute. I want to access this class attribute of human. Human dot has hair, true. So all human object has hair. Let's say if I created another object, let's say cow dot has, if I do this one, it also prints true. So class attribute is same for all objects. So class attribute, it means class attribute is same for all objects. So cow is an object here, cow is an object here, human is an object, right? So class attribute is shared by objects. So you can create as many objects you want from a class. So that is the basic definition of class attribute. Let's dive a little bit deeper and I'll give you another example. Object attribute. So the basic thing is class attribute is shared among the objects, right? Human has here, dog has here, cow has here. That's same for all mammals, right? Let's say human has two legs. Just an example, right? We humans are the examples of mammals, so we have two legs. But cow has four legs, dog has four legs. So what that means is that every object also has other attributes as well. So it means object also possess some attribute. So object possess class attribute, and objects have might have their own unique attribute as well, right? So we need to implement that using object attribute. So let me show you an example of how to do that. Class mammal. So if we want to initialize object attribute, we use a donder called init. So it is a function underscore underscore init underscore underscore. The first argument is always self. So self is an object, right? So we want to initialize the object attribute. We want to initialize human has two legs. We want to initialize cow has four legs. So human and cow are objects and we want to initialize their attributes. So that can be done using init donder. So we call it donder because it has two underscore and two underscore before and after this init keyword. So let me write pass here. So we want to initialize we want to tell our code that every objects that we create from mammal should have some legs, right? How many legs? Let's say leg count. That is an attribute. So we wanna define leg count. So self is an object. We want to define its leg count. So it should be value inside the function. So if we are passing a value inside the argument of a function, we can use that value. So this is simple. Self means object, right? If I create human object, self is human. If I create cow as an object, self is cow. If I create dog object, self would be dog. So this is simple, right? Dog dot leg count. Dog's leg count is the leg count we define when we create a object. So let me show you an example. So human, M-A-M-M-A-L, human is a mammal. So previously I did like this, right? Human, mammal, that's it. We don't have a class attribute here. I just ignore it for the simplicity. So if I run this, it will throw an error. What it says is init is missing one required positional argument and it should be leg count. It is asking you are creating a human object and how many legs does human has? I mean, you wanted to like define human should have some leg and how many are they? So that is the whole point, right? That is the whole question. So we need to pass the leg count while calling a class, so it should be 2. If I run this one, it will throw no error. Let me create a, let's say, dog. I cannot do this for dog as well, so we need to define leg count for a dog. So dog has 4 legs. Now, if I do something like this, has here, or this is how we access the class attribute, right? Object dot attribute name. So we need human dot, what is the attribute name? Self is a human, right? The attribute is leg count. So human has 2 legs. Dog dot leg count is 4. So we separated class attribute and object attribute. So if I add, let's say, has here, true here, let me show you an example. So it would be same, but if I run human dot has here, it would be true, and dog dot has here, it would be true because class attributes are shared. So this is a class attribute. So in this function init, we are initializing object attribute leg count. So we are initializing object attribute leg count here. So init is object attribute initializer. So by definition, what does init mean in Python? So that would be another interview question. What does underscore underscore, let me write this way, mean in Python? So the answer is it is an object attribute. So it initializes object attribute. So I think I made a mistake on the spelling. Let me correct this one. It is an object attribute initializer. Some people also say it is a constructor, but technically it is not a constructor. It is not technically a constructor. If it is not a constructor, then what is constructor? So constructor in Python is a constructor. New is a constructor because it creates an object. Init is not a constructor because it only initializes the attribute of constructor, right? So they both work together. Init and new. So let me write init is object attribute jdr init and new work together to create an object. So this is the whole point. So in object oriented programming, constructor is something that creates an object. So this new donder internally creates an object, and then it passes that object as a self inside init. So while we run init, the object is already created, therefore init cannot be a constructor, right? Constructor is something that creates an object, so init is not a constructor because object has been already created. But what it is it is object attribute initializer. It initializes object attribute. It is initializing object attribute called leg count. So that is the whole definition. So I mean, you can call it constructor as well. Some people call init as constructor because it works with new. It's a fair point, but so new would be technically a constructor, and init and new work together to create an object. So basically it is creating an object, but if you look inside, before calling init, object is already created. So uh, I mean, you cannot like directly say it is a constructor. So that is the whole point. So in this video, I discussed about what is class, what is object, what is the difference between class attribute and object attribute, and what does init mean, what does self mean. Self is an object, right? So if you print data type of the self, it will show it as an object. So it is init initializes object attribute. That this is the whole point that you should remember. They both work together to create an object. So some people call init as an constructor as well, but new is a constructor in Python. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.